What's up everyone, it's Ojh and we're back at it again, and today is going to be my first ever live reaction video reacting to this video which was recently put onto YouTube, which is Warcraft Rumble community questions put to some of the Warcraft Rumble team by someone called Ojh&x. Now I'll be honest with you, I have no idea who Ojh&x is. I've looked on the channel and there is nothing else Warcraft Rumble related on there, but fair play to this person because they have had access to some of the Warcraft Rumble team which has not been available to any of us in the creator program, despite asking about this for a very long time. So well done to this guy for getting this organized, because like I say, we have had absolutely zero success. Anyway, let's jump straight into it. Let's see what was asked. Like I say, I don't know what the questions are, but we'll get my live reaction as we go.
Our first community question, people, and this is actually one that's been repeated, like people really want more deck slots, a minimum of 2 deck slots by heroes, 1 for PvP and 1 for PvE. Is that something you guys plan on adding in the game in the future?
Not something we can speak to whether or not it's in our plans or not, but we've certainly heard that feedback from the rest of the community before. And yeah, we don't have any specific plans to address it right now at the moment, but it is a great idea. And it's something that I think a lot of people on the team are passionate about, but we just don't have any plans that we're talking about at the moment for it.
Okay.
Okay, so we're not off to a brilliant start here, if I'm completely honest with you. So, deck slots, extra deck slots for leaders is something that we've been asking for a very long time. We know it's a pain to keep on changing your deck if you want to use one leader for PvP and then use it for a quest or a dungeon or whatever it is. So surely it can't be that difficult for them to put another deck slot per leader. But by the sounds of it, that isn't even on the roadmap, not even a consideration at the moment. Or even though they like the sound of it and they know that this is what we want, that there are seemingly no plans for that to come in the future at all, really.
Your team have plans to update the guild finder to put active guilds in front of new players instead of inactive guilds held by inactive players.
Similar to what Jeremy said about the decks for leaders, like we hear the feedback. I think we agree that would be a great quality of life improvement, but we can't say whether or not that's coming at a specific date in the future.
When will people be able to play against their friends?
Play against their friends, not with them. Well, we just gave everybody the ability to play with their friends.
I think people want to test decks against their. I think the concept is that people, because it's a multiple question again, they want to play PvP with their friends to test decks before they go into certain in other environments.
I think with any feature-based question, you're kind of going to get the same answer from us. Like, that sounds like a really fun idea, but we're not really prepared to talk about what we're releasing in the future for the game, unfortunately.
Okay. So 2 questions that were back-to-back there. The first one around quality of life changes, which was going to be not offering inactive guilds to people. And the second one, which was going to be about when will we be able to have friendly PvP battles in the game? And the answer from both of the people who were being interviewed was essentially that they're not willing to discuss any future features in the game and put dates on it and things like that. Now, I can see why they wouldn't want to put dates on it, because it puts pressure on you, it puts expectation onto the team, and let's be honest, we know that the releases, the game updates that have happened so far when there's been a particular date announced, have in the most part broken the game entirely and been a bit of a disaster, all things considered. And the latest update we were due to get to the game, the Cenarion Family, has been delayed not by a day and not by 2 days, but by 2 weeks, and that was announced literally as it was about to go live. So I can see why that they wouldn't want to say that PvP will be not PvP, that friendly battles and tournaments or whatever will be in the game on such a date. However, what I would like to hear is that the team are actively working on some of the features that us in the community want. So whether that be friendly battles, whether that be, you know, the extra guild slots, whether that be spectator mode, whether that be sharing replays, friends lists, all of those things that people do want in the community in no priority order, it would be good for the team, I think, to come out and say, yes, these things are on our roadmap. So we at least know that they're being worked on and that there are things that are coming in the future. And then we'll know that the developers are developing features that we want and that we've asked for, are not features that they think that we want. So really interesting, but in the most disappointing way, that apparently any future feature questions in this are really, there's not going to be an answer to that. So, well, we'll see how the next 10 minutes of the interview goes.
This user wants to know if you guys are planning to do some type of achievement system that allows you to play old content in different ways. Let's use minis to get achievements.
So similar answer. I will add that we recently added events, and events are a really fun way to revisit maps you may have already, completed in campaign or maybe even heroic. Events often will take a quest or even just like a surge modifier, and they'll ask you to do something, an additional challenge on top of that. And so that's not a direct answer, but I do think that we'll continue thinking about ways to make that content, replayable and more fun for people.
So let's not confuse achievements with events, shall we? So essentially, well, we just gave you guys events, so yeah. Well, no, not really. World of Warcraft has hundreds, if not thousands, of different achievements within the game, and other mobile phone games have got achievement systems in there, whether that be Clash Royale that I play a lot, whether it be, get 5 million damage with a particular unit, or Squad Busters, kill a particular unit X amount of times, or use a particular spell X amount of times, and so on. So there are achievements and there are events. Achievements can be linked to events, but to ask a question about bringing achievements to the game and get a response that says, we gave you events which gives you like replayable old content, that's, for me, that's just missed the point of the question entirely. Anyway, we move on.
This user says, any plans for improving efficiency of the app? Battery drain, and device overheat is brutal with this game.
Yeah, so I can answer that one very directly. Yes, 100%. We're always working on the performance of the game. That is something that we're acutely attuned to on the development team, especially from an engineering point of view. They are always trying to make maps load faster, bring down heat on the devices, make sure your interactions with the app are as quick and as snappy as possible. That is something we definitely always have an eye on with every release. And I think players will see incremental positive changes with each new release that we have coming out, because we have such a strong eye on performance for the game. It's something that's very important to us.
Okay, so game optimization is always going to be a good thing to make the game more efficient, to make it load faster, to make it play better, and to preserve battery life and stuff. That's always going to be a thing. However, a little bit of a knowledge that I've got is that the devs are looking at as a priority at game optimization and not the features that we, or certainly that I would hope that they were looking at, which are some of the things that we've spoken about around friendly PvP, deck slots and all that sort of stuff. So game optimization and resource management and all that sort of stuff is a priority for the devs at the moment, which again for me was, although it will help in the long run, disappointing given the amount of things that I would have hoped that they could have been working on.
Plan on fixing the optimization for Pixel phones. This user is having a hard time loading into games on his Pixel 8 up to 2 minutes, he says. Yeah,
we're always, all devices, we're always looking to optimize and improve. I have a Pixel personally, and I play the game on it, so that's something that, like, if we see a bug or something on it, I'll report it to the team. But we're always working on improving across the entire range of devices. There's a lot of devices out there. That's one of the benefits of working on a mobile game is, almost anyone who has a mobile phone can access the game. So we're always thinking about it. The short answer is yes. We can't say like, oh, specifically this one thing on this one device is going to get fixed on this exact date. But in general, we're always listening and we always want to improve it across all the devices.
Does your team plan to add a notification system when searching for a partner for sieges and raids?
Same answer. We can't comment on any future features, unfortunately, but that does sound like a really cool idea.
Do you guys?
Surely we can talk about any future features. We don't even need to put dates on it. Like I say, I'm not even wanting you to tell me that it will be coming on X date and then I've got this expectation. Well, if you just let me know that you're working on like a notification feature, come on.
Does your team have any plans to add a volume slider into the game?
You want to take that one, Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, same answer basically, but I think you're referring to like a volume slider like within settings that says like music volume, gameplay volume.
Yeah, I would assume so. That's what they're asking. Yeah, I would assume.
Yeah, same. That sounds like a lovely quality of life add that we definitely heard the request for before, and I'm sure people internally have suggested too. So yeah, can't say anything yet, but
it's a volume slider. We can't tell you anything more about that at the moment. So at this stage, the questions that we're asking, we're going a bit round in circles here, aren't we? Because if any of the questions that we ask from now on, and we've got another, however many minutes left in this video, if any of the questions that we ask are going to be around future features, from the first 4 responses that we've got, we know they're not going to tell us anything about future features. So I really, really hope that there are other questions in this where we will get an actual answer, because the fact they can't tell us about a volume slider in the game is, that's an odd one. That's an odd one for me.
I have a gameplay question now, which is good.
Okay, go for it.
A lot of players are reporting having a surplus of rare cores, and I find myself that my progress is being limited by the lack of epic cores. Are there any plans to add a core conversion feature so excess rare cores aren't useless?
Oh, got that one, Brendan?
Yeah, sure. That's a really neat idea. Something same answer. Like we can't say yes or no. But something that we've looked at a lot in general is just like how the economy is functioning in Rumble. And we listen to a lot of feedback about that, and we all play it as well, and we'll talk internally, about what do we need more of, what do we need less of. And I think something like a core conversion or something to do with those cores sounds like a really, really nice addition, but we can't say that we have any plans necessarily.
What?
Well, let's carry on.
What your team feels the role are for some of the bad minis are supposed to fill? Like, why would you play Spiderlings, Warsun Grunts, or Null Brute?
I can grab this one if you like, Jeremy.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, so our design philosophy is that every mini should have a place. There's, like I was saying earlier, there's all these emergent strategies that continuously happen when we give players new tools. And that's one of my favorite parts about working on this game. I think depending on your strategy and your army and what you're using and what the meta in PvP is, I think there's always going to be something that's fun and viable that wasn't necessarily or didn't feel as fun or viable, the previous week based on the modifiers and the enchants and all that stuff. Our goal is always to look at what's available to the players and look at what's being used and offer new tools and new strategies to change that up. And for example, that's where Cenarion sort of came from. There's all these families out there, all these minis that we could pull from that we want to add to the game. But at any moment in time, we're thinking, what's good for the game right now? What does the player base need? What tools could we give them that could sort of add or shake up the meta here? And we realized that we didn't have as much sustain and defensive kind of play style oriented minis and families. So Cenarion is a really good place for that. They have a lot of healing, a lot of resist, a lot of sustain, a lot of utility, and we thought that was a really good opportunity there. So for players who are not finding value in certain minis, I would challenge them to completely change it up, try a different leader, try a different deck, and see where those minis can go. I won't give recommendations for every specific mini, but for example, you mentioned Spiderlings, and internally on the team, we use spiders all the time. We have a lot of people on the team who just love poison decks, and they just stack as much poison as they can, and they'll even use the Quillbore talent in there, and they'll just drop a Quillbore just to keep the poison stacks going. And so I think there's value in every mini. It just depends on what you're using and where, but I would challenge them to try and make it work, because I think that's a really fun way to have a good time, to shake up what you're doing and see if you can find a different way.
Okay, so there are no bad minis in the game. We just need to play differently. That's the challenge. Okay.
Yeah, the broad range of play styles, I think, is the number one kind of response to that for me, is that there's so many different ways to play a Rumble, either via PvP or raids or sieges or Arclight surges or campaign missions, and every mini has value in one of those game modes at some point. And so it's just about mixing up your army and trying something new.
So there are a lot of game modes at the moment, but since that they've made it so that events happen once a month, and then Siege is once and can be completed for most people, can be completed pretty quickly. Raids as well, I know you've got extra goes in that, but there's not there's not masses of content like we're kind of making out here. Is that, yeah, PvP is replayable and you can try whatever, but I just don't want it to come across that we've got shed loads of different opportunities to try these things out, because I think that's a little bit exaggerated. Let's carry on.
Let's just get this one out of the way now. Any plans for PC release?
No plans that we can talk about right now, unfortunately. But we've certainly heard that from the community, and we certainly think it's a good idea, but we have nothing to announce at the moment.
I mean, given how this interview's gone, I could have answered that question.
Does your team have any plans to implement an arena or survival mode where every mini is the same level as you, and you pick for different pairs and sets?
Yeah, another fun idea. We're always thinking of new ways to shake things up. We have events, and events are like a great area to add new, fun, exciting things, kind of like what you said, to the game. So we're certainly open to it. We're always listening. That sounds like a ton of fun, but we can't say if we have any plans or not.
I mean, at this point, 8 minutes in, what have we learned? And is that because the questions are terrible, or is that because the two representatives that we've been sent literally just can't tell us anything about anything? I'm not really sure. I do think, though, that bashing this future feature question kind of trend is wasted time for all of us that are watching this, because it's quite clear that they're not going to give us any answers. So repeatedly asking questions about the future or the future content that may or may not be coming, we're not getting anywhere with that, are we? So a different line of questioning would be good at this point, or for the devs to just play ball a little bit.
Do you have plans for the people out there that don't like to siege or raid but enjoy the campaign or other modes in the game?
Sorry, what was the beginning of that? Do we have plans for
so
that?
Do you have plans for more content for people who are not actively raiding or sieging?
We definitely have plans for more content for the game. As to specifically where that content lies, we can't really talk about. I can say that we have a lot of fun stuff lined up, and it's like incredibly... It's so fun to know that we've got it lined up, but unfortunately can't talk about it right now. But there are a lot of really cool things, but we don't have any specifics about future content other than Cenarion Family that's dropping very, very soon.
Trust them, there is fun stuff coming, and there is lots of it. But as far as any hint or any inkling, not today, seemingly not ever.
Yeah, I agree with Jeremy. It's really hard to hear these questions and not want to share more. We're always thinking about the game, and we're obviously stuff is actively, going on after this, call ends. I'm going to go back to working on something that I can't tell you about. But we want all areas of the game to be fun and to be alive for players. And so if there's players who don't enjoy a specific area of the game, they can rest assured that other areas of the game will continue to also be updated and maintained. Something we can tell you about today is, like, for example, if someone really loves the campaign, we're adding 5 new campaign missions in Moonglade. It's going to be a new zone. There's going to be 5 new missions there. They're tons of fun. Some of them reference some of those new Cenarion minis I told you about. Some are completely different. And I won't say too much about them, but they're going to be really fun. They're going to have heroic versions as well. And so that'll be another way for players to stay engaged with the campaign, for example. And they can expect for us to continue to come out with content in all areas of the game.
Now, I didn't look at exactly when this video went live, and I don't know when this video was recorded or anything like that, but the fact that Moonglade is coming with 5 new bosses to defeat, and that there will be a normal and heroic campaign, that couldn't be any more public knowledge. So the fact that my man here said what I can tell you, and then told us something that at this stage we already know, this is not new news in the slightest. So like I say, I don't know exactly when maybe this was filmed a while ago and has only just come to my attention, or maybe this was filmed a while ago and has only just been released. But like I say, all of the updates, the social media updates, the creators like myself who've done the season 7 preview videos and stuff, we know all this anyway. So again, this is not new news to us at this stage.
Which also means new Arclight Surge modifiers within that zone and all sorts of really fun content within Moonglade. We're super excited about that set of maps. It looks really, really fun. I think I have a personal favorite in Brightwing's map, just because, I don't know, Fairy Dragon in general is just such a cool unit to me, and I just like how many, we did this whole... I don't want to ruin it. It's very cool.
So, on this, there are whilst Moonglade is going to be, I think Moonglade is a good addition to the game. It does add a bit more, it does add a little bit more content for people that are working through that, and I think it's going to bridge the gap a little bit between where their current heroic ends and people going to Onyxia, even though Onyxia has been made a bit easier with the introduction of sieges and raids because of the rewards that you can get, the booster slots, the Valor, wildcard slots, mythic tomes, etc. That Moonglade is going to fit into a is going to only help kind of smooth out that curve a little bit. However, there are a number of people, and again, I'm thinking about the whole player base here, is that, I'm thinking about the top end people who have already got minis that are going to be level 29, 30. So we're going to bring in a new zone, a campaign zone that's like around level 26, which really isn't going to be much of a challenge for those people at the end game. So it's not end game content. Like I say, this is really good for people that are still progressing through that content and gives people more to do. But I can see that the people that are at the end of the game aren't going to look at Moonglade with the same level of excitement, really, in my opinion.
It's a very cool map that I think people will enjoy playing.
Does your team plan to implement duos and other content forms, quest PvP dungeons?
That's another interesting request that we've gotten a lot. I think we definitely see the value in that, but we have no plans to talk about anything like that today, unfortunately.
This person wants to know the design decision behind why you do not allow single-player raids.
I can talk about that a little bit. Sieges and raids kind of harken back to raids in World of Warcraft, and something that was really cool about raids in World of Warcraft was that it was a community effort. And you had to get a large group of people together at a specific time, and you had to discuss strategy, and you'd go and take down these massive, like seemingly impossible to defeat foes, and then you could celebrate your victory together and get these crazy rewards. And for some of them, they would do this whole server-wide message, and it would change some stuff that happened in the capital cities. It was so cool. And something we're always thinking about with Rumble is, how do we take these different experiences, these different ideas, whether they're from World of Warcraft or not, and bring them to the mobile audience and bring them to our mobile players and make them fun. And when we were looking at sieges and raids, we thought, what is a core element of raids that we really don't want to miss out on, and that was the sense of cooperation. And so we didn't think that having 40 people on a single mobile level would be fun for those 40 people. So we brought it down to 2. We thought that was a really fun co-op experience. We think that the synergy there with all these multitudes of combinations we've talked about before, these different minis and talents, you now add a second person who's bringing a second army. And there's lots to discuss. There's lots of strategy there, and we felt like that was just a really fun opportunity, a really fun experiment. So that's why we went with co-op being 2 people for those.
So I think that the co-op in sieges and raids is a really, really good thing. I know there's people that want to see it be more like a looking for group where you can look outside of your guild and all the rest of it, and we can discuss kind of the broader topic of it another time. In fact, I might have another video coming out tomorrow with community feedback that I've gathered. But I do think that the co-op side of things is good. I think if they'd have just brought out sieges and raids as another solo campaign, as it were, that it wouldn't have had the same level of enjoyment, and it would have had the same level of complexity, and it would have just really been, an add-on to another group of Onyxia fights, in terms of difficulty and time. So I do like the co-op side of things. I agree completely. Having the number more than 2, I think is really, for a mobile phone game, going to be stretching people's engagement with it. If you're asking for 3, 4, 5, or like you were saying about 40, you've got absolutely no chance, mostly because guilds can only have 20. But you get my point, is that I think that 2 is a good number, and I'm happy to see raids and sieges in there as that co-op content, because it is something new and it does hark back to World of Warcraft days. So no, that's I'm happy with that.
And specifically why sieges are kind of like a more slightly more accessible version of raiding, because you get kind of like a taste of raid mechanics in sieges already. So I think that's a really good kind of introduction to it. And I also remember the first time that we played a co-op map as a development team, and just I could not get the smile off my face for a long time. It was even a very early iteration of co-op within the game, but it was so much fun to share a deploy zone with another person playing the game, and like it was no longer completely my fault if I lost. I could share that. I could share that with my fellow teammate. But we had so much fun playing it. We wanted to make sure that that we did right by it by the time we launched it in Warcraft Rumble, and we're really very, very happy with the results.
So again, I'm happy with that as well. Sieges being like an intro raid or like a raid light sort of thing, and then the raid being the main effect. You're getting the whole hog in that. Yeah, you know, I'm happy with that, and I agree. It has been really, really enjoyable, and the fact that you can go back and help guildmates out as well. That's really good as well. So yeah, all around sieges and raids in the co-op. I think that's a good thing. Again, nothing that we didn't already know, and nothing that's not already in the game. So this isn't new news. But I do agree that Sieges and Raids, from my perspective, have been a really good addition.
The last question is, people are really clamoring. They want Arthas, they want Gul'dan, they want Illidan. Any plans to implement those iconic characters into Rumble?
We want all of those things too. I mean, at the top of this list, we are Warcraft fans first and foremost. We love the IP and all those kind of epic characters. While we cannot say what specific characters we will be releasing in the future, those are some excellent ideas, and we will certainly take them into consideration for future minis for Warcraft Rumble.
So we're going to wrap it up with a future feature question, and we're going to get a shut up and get back in your box answer yet again. So that is my live reaction. I feel like during that I've not been the most, engaged or the most satisfied with the responses that we've got there. I find it really, really disappointing that we can't be told like anything about the future. Like I said before, it's not necessarily about dates. We're not trying to hold people to account of. You said that we would have extra deck slots by the 10th of August or whatever. I'm not about that, but if the team say to us, we are actively working on that and it will be coming soon, we are actively working on friendly battles and it will be coming soon, these are on our roadmap actively being progressed, I think that will be really, really good. That'll give us a really good feeling. But as far as that interview goes, like I say, whether it was the questions or the answers or whatever, let me know in the comments what you think about that. But I can't get too excited about that, unfortunately, and I think that's the first time I've seen any of the Warcraft Rumble team being interviewed by anybody. Like I say, in the creator program, we have been trying to make this happen for so long, and we've got absolutely nowhere near it. However, if all the devs are going to say to us is that they're not talking about future features, then really, us teeing up an interview, we're not going to be able to get any of the answers that people are really looking for. So, hey, disappointing all in all, but hey, we are where we are. But yeah, thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. If you're not already, please get yourself subscribed, and I'll see you in the next one.